Family disputes can make us feel isolated and vulnerable. Maybe you're going through a divorce or a legal dispute about your kids. Perhaps you've spent hours on Google or have even posted anonymously on Facebook to see what others have to say. But are you getting the actual information and support that you're looking for? Our podcast, Legal Lounge, aims to dispel misinformation and downright bad legal information to empower anyone with questions about their family, their children, their finances, their marriage, and the law. As a team focused exclusively on family law matters, we aim to help listeners not only with the information they need, but also with the hope that their situation has a solution. Short disclaimer, please note this podcast is for educational purposes only, and the information should not be relied upon as legal advice or for legal purposes. Welcome back to the Legal Lounge. Today, I have a dear friend of mine who is a lawyer, but not in family law. Sabrina, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I am an estate planning and probate attorney. So we make sure that people have their documents in place before they get sick and obviously pass away. And then we help families settle their estates after a loved one passes away.
Yeah, so it's definitely under a similar umbrella of family law, right?
Yeah.
Because we are very much focused on family needs, whether it's as a result of a divorce on my side,
Right.
or due to the death of a loved one.
Yeah.
And I'd like to bring a little bit more attention to that because I feel like when people watch Law and Order or Suits, everyone thinks that all lawyers do the exact same thing, right?
That's right.
And I was actually joking the other day with a friend about how accurate Suits and some of the scenes are to our field. But there is a difference, and you and I were talking about it a moment ago, about transactional attorneys and more relationship attorneys.
Yeah, big difference. There was a big difference. And I think it comes from, movies and shows and, people still think that we read wills.
Yeah.
And no, what I do is not transactional at all. It's relationship based. You got to get somebody out of a ticket, that's transactional. You're doing a real estate closing. It's done. It's transactional. When it comes to estate planning and like settling estates, it's relationship based. I need to know who you are. I need to know what you're scared of, what your goals are. I need to know family secrets. Do you have kids that spend too much money, or do you have kids who married somebody you don't care for? Or, we've got drug related addictions, things like that are really important to know. And so you got to provide an environment for clients to be able to freely talk about those things because it's not easy.
No, it's not.
On top of that, you're talking about you leaving your family behind and dying or possibly getting sick. It's really tough conversation to have if you're not understanding it's more of a relationship than let's get it just done and move on.
Yeah. And obviously I can relate
Yeah.
significantly because in family law, I tell my team members, in a way, every client is welcoming us into their family.
Absolutely.
By allowing us to help them. And whether that is because we are resolving a child custody dispute and figuring out parenting arrangement, or they're opening up their finances and their books.
Yeah.
And, we have to help them figure out where their money's going, whether it's between households or maybe to college expenses. And then we're also talking about some subjects that our clients won't even share with their loved ones or their mom or their sister or brother. And it's interesting because I hear a lot of secrets. I'm sure you hear the same.
Yes. You're probably hearing different secrets
Sure.
than me,
Yeah.
but still secrets and still things that are really difficult to talk about. And sometimes they're more open to talking about their finances than they are about what they're nervous about. And, a lot of people come to me and they're like, we need estate planning, but we don't really know why. Like we heard somebody tell us that we need it, or, my neighbor died and their family is just completely lost and we don't want to be in that situation. And they're more open to talk about their finances than they are about like what they're scared of until they understand the whole point of being there and why it's so important. And you're hearing secrets of reasons for why people don't want to be married anymore.
Yeah.
And those run deep.
Yeah.
They
run
don't
deep.
happen overnight.
Yeah. And some of the secrets that come out, they don't want anyone else to know,
Right.
which we both will keep in confidence.
Of course.
Attorney-client privilege, a segue here, is the strongest protection for privacy out there.
I believe the same thing.
So, and it's one of those things that because there is this attorney-client privilege, I stress to my clients, yes, tell me about your finances, but tell me any and everything I might need to know.
Right. No surprises later.
No surprises, please. And I know you're not in the courtroom as much as I am, but there have been a few times where I'm in the courtroom and suddenly, surprise, and I'm like, oh, I could have prepped for this. I am just going to wing it at this point because there's no prep time. But yeah, it's critical for our clients to really be open and honest, not only about, the account balance in their bank account, but more importantly, their fears, their frustrations,
big time important,
and their goals, like their actual goals in life, financial and otherwise.
And I think a lot of people think estate planning is just about the money. Really, nobody wants your couch when you're gone. Your kids don't want it. They're gonna get rid of it at a garage sale or just like donate it all, right? But what they want is peace when you're gone. They don't want all the stresses and the struggles and those kinds of things that will come up. And I've seen families fight for just a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
And knowing the background of the family, really helps. And to your point where you said ethics and privacy and is really important, I've excused children from my conferences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can talk a little bit now, but I'm going to ask your son or your daughter to be sitting outside while we're having this conversation. Because part of my job is I don't want to be in court defending my procedures on how we created your plan.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that this was completely private and there was no confidentiality that we had to, worry about.
Yeah.
But if you insist on having somebody there, we're going to get that in writing because I don't want to see your family fight later. And that's part of my job for you.
Yeah.
Is let's keep you out of court. That's one of the biggest goals.
That's an interesting concept, which I do feel a lot of people, especially if they have rarely interacted with the legal system or the judicial system, understand is when we represent a party, we only represent that party.
Yes.
This is huge in family law specifically because oftentimes, and I get it, our parties may have their bill paid, their legal fees paid by someone else before we get maybe reimbursement in the court. And they're not the client. No. And I stress that the person who pays has no rights.
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
And we do not have an obligation and in fact are not allowed to disclose case status, legal strategy to the payor, only to the client.
We can't even say that we spoke to somebody.
Yep.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. You just don't. Yeah. And that's a big deal in my office. Like you are not allowed to say a single thing. I don't care who calls to ask about a file or anybody that calls and says, hey, I hear you're representing. All you're instructed to do is take a name and number and you hand it to me.
Yeah.
Nothing. You know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, you know nothing. And it's interesting because I especially in family law, there are a lot of my clients that will want to lean on other resources, which I'm all for. But before I disclose any information to, say, one of those individuals that are providing resources, is I'll get something in writing from my client that says what I can and cannot discuss.
Right.
And to the extent. And even then, I still am very nervous, and there is a line, right, that I will never cross to protect my client's interests. But go one step further, there have been times where either someone's paying for the services or they're a close family member, and they'll say, "Well, I don't know if you are giving them appropriate legal advice," and so I'll say, "Thank you for your consideration."
Oh, because you're
I'm
really
going to talk to my client,
that way.
right? Well, and it's crazy because I think there comes a point, especially because the area of practice that we're in is very relational.
Yeah,
we want, like in family law, especially, where we want to make sure that we are treading carefully, if you will. And I really think it's important to say thank you. I'll talk to my client.
Right.
I.e., thank you, no thank you. I'll talk to my client. And if my client wants to talk to them about this information or details, or
it's all on them.
It's all on them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I say the same thing. Like, I don't think they should show anybody what their will or their trust says. It's none of their business.
Exactly.
I'll tell you how to have conversations around that you have a plan in place. Who do they need to call when something happens? Like that's important. But it's up to you to share whatever you want in there. It's not coming from me.
Yeah.
I won't even do letters. I've had clients ask me to do letters to their family to kind of explain what they did. And I said, I'm very, very vague.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing detailed in there. I'm going to give like 2 paragraphs if you're lucky. Your job, based on how we've done things together, is to have that conversation, how that looks, what that should be, when you should have it. Like somebody needs to know how you want to end your life.
Yeah.
That should not be a secret, nor should it be a secret who was appointed.
Yes.
And you have to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Do you want to be kept alive artificially? Do you want to pass away at home? Do you have a religious reason why you don't want something or you do want something to happen to you?
Yeah.
And if you do these documents and we take all this time to put them together and you keep it all a secret, we might as well not have done anything because nobody can help you. That I want to guide you through. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
else needs to know.
Yeah.
That someone's not getting something in your will. You really want to start that now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Start the disputes before you even pass
right.
away.
Nobody wants that.
And I think it's really important that everything changes over time, whether it's estate planning or family law.
Yeah.
A situation today is going to be different in 5 to 10 years, and it's going to be different than 25 years from now.
No kidding.
And so maybe you like someone today. That doesn't mean you'll like them tomorrow, right? That's for family law and estate planning.
And just life in general.
And just life in general. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's why, clients will say, well, when do I need to make these changes? I'm like, life events. Somebody dies, somebody gets remarried, there's another baby. You don't like the people anymore. They're
Mhm.
not in your life anymore. Just take it out every couple of years. Take your favorite drink out, whatever that may be, and just read through it. You'll be
Yeah.
amazed
Yeah.
at the things that you need to change that you never really thought you needed to do.
Yeah.
Especially with guardians
Yep.
for kids. You're picking people that probably had kids your age and you're close with them when your kids are younger and like, oh, that's a perfect family, even if it's not related to you to be appointed as a guardian. And then, 5, 6 years later, your kids are not friends anymore. You're not really seeing them, but here they are named as guardians for your own kids and your plans.
Yeah.
So,
And let alone if they've moved away or gone to a different high school or
right. Life changes.
Yeah.
Parents' lives change so that when kids are minors, their lives are changing too.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, we tend to modify custody arrangements and child support arrangements a lot, simply because the needs of children change
right.
so drastically.
Oh God, yes.
If we think about a 3-year-old versus a 6-year-old versus a 9-year-old, completely different chapters of a child's life.
Oh my God. And then when they're teenagers, they're like
Yeah.
whole other human beings.
Yeah.
And to me, they're not even humans sometimes. Like I don't even know who my daughter is on occasion.
Yeah.
Because their personality, like they're dealing with so much in their own life that they don't know how to react to that. And so
Yeah.
they're different every day. And you got to just keep up with it the best that you can as a parent and as a business owner and helping your clients. You just got to be cognizant of that and educate your clients on how to look at that.
Yeah.
It's the best you can do.
Yeah. And I think in our field specifically, we are standing by our clients every step of the way through that.
Yeah.
I tend to tell my clients if we've had a child custody dispute that I would like to remain involved, even if it's in the background and we keep your case on hold until every single child ages out. And the reason why is because of exactly that, is that, yes, maybe I was involved when the kid was 6 years old, but I may need to get involved again when the kid is 16 years old.
Right.
And child custody is one of the few, I would say child custody and child support are the few matters in a courtroom that can be litigated more than once over the same court issue, i.e. that
Okay.
child.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think about it this way, in criminal court, someone's charged with robbery. They're found guilty or not guilty.
Right.
Right. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
The DA's office can't bring those charges again. You're done on that incident.
Yeah.
But in family law with one child, we theoretically could have a new custody trial. I mean, I've had temporary hearings every few months even.
Wow.
or a
It's a
final
lot.
custody determination every few years for the
Mhm.
same child because circumstances change so drastically for
Yeah.
children.
No, and I think the way you run your practice, you're telling your clients that at the beginning. Like
Yes.
you're giving them, here's what could look like. This is 1,000-foot view of what we may be looking at so that they're always keeping that in the back of their mind, not only to know when to come to you, but what to look out for.
Yeah.
And that's really important. And I don't think enough of us do that for our clients
Yeah. That's fair.
because we sometimes just, we're just doing it every day. We know what we're doing. We know what to look out for you, but our clients want to know what we're doing for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
With my probates, we do so much on the back end. If we told our clients everything we did, we'd be on the phone 24/7 or on email.
Yeah.
And so we tell our clients at the beginning, listen, there's going to be like months of no communication from us because
Yeah.
literally nothing is happening.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
waiting for court papers to
Yeah.
appoint you.
Yeah.
But we've got it calendared. Every time we check the e-filing system, we're going to let you know, anticipate when we're going to be
Yeah.
communicating with you so that we're still working for you, but there's not
Yeah.
much right now. It's just to calm them down.
Yeah. Yeah. And we do try to check in with our clients on a regular basis, more so for that relationship factor
Right.
that we are talking about a moment ago. But it's interesting that you even bring up that subject because just a few days ago, a motion was filed in one of my child custody, child support actions. And my client, I called her first because I was like, if this just comes out of nowhere, she'll get
Right.
emotionally upset, like, physically upset. I know how she reacts to things. Mind you, we haven't worked on her case in like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So I gave her a call and she's like, hey, Teresa.
Oh.
Uh-oh. And I was like, hey, girlfriend.
Why you calling?
And she's like, I love hearing from you, but I don't. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I get it. And so it's one of those that I really want, especially in our lines of practice, our areas of practice for clients to realize that if you have us as your attorney, we're going to be standing in that corner
Right.
for years,
Mhm.
making sure you're protected, even when we're not giving you a call or sending you an email update.
That's right.
And we will call though
That's right.
when it's necessary to do so. So
That's why have us on caller ID.
Yes.
So you know, 'cause
Yeah.
it's never going to be good.
Yep.
No, I mean, the relationship is important. I've had clients, so I've been in practice since '05 in my own practice here, but had a license in New York for several years before moving down here. And clients, everybody gets older and everybody deals with something bad in their life. And just in the last month, I've had clients from 10 years ago that have lost spouses that
Wow.
have called me and said, we need help. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. That was the point of helping you years ago so
Mhm.
that you trusted me when this happened to help you through. And, one of my clients had said, we hear from you every month because we're on your newsletter and we follow you and we hear all of the things that are going on and we knew that we have to call you. Like, who else would we call? And that's because I take it seriously. Like, I want to be there for your family.
Yeah.
And that's why I've not let my practice grow to the point where I can't run into a client at Harris Teeter and not recognize them.
Yeah.
I want to recognize who you are.
Yep.
And I want to remember all those things about you. And I love that part.
Yeah.
That's why I like doing that. So,
Yeah.
and you can't give personal service if you're just a mill, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do that. And speaking of that transactional piece, there are attorneys that can practice our areas of law,
Mm-hmm.
but treat it a lot more transactional.
Correct.
Whether or not that's a quality service, I would beg to differ from that. Because at the end of the day, when you are talking about the most intimate parts of a family's life, of a person's life, the birth of their child, their marriage, losing a spouse, their own death,
Big stuff.
these are big things. Much more important than that traffic ticket that you happen to get, or I get a few too many.
Oops.
Oops. But it's one of those where I do want to know the first name of my attorney or hear from my attorney on a regular basis
because I'm discussing my most intimate issues with.
Yeah. It takes effort though.
Yeah.
And you have to be that kind of person. Like you can't become that person if that's not really where you're coming from. And like when I run into clients, they know about me, they know about my family, they know about things that have been going on.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "I'm so glad I saw that because my neighbor had asked me about that." And I said, "Oh, my lawyer just said something about that on social media," right? Because it's educating the public
Yes.
about it.
Yes.
And, getting back to your point about I could go to traffic court tomorrow for you if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Would I love it? No.
No.
No. I've done it for my mother. That's a whole other story. I don't love it. That's not
Yeah.
who I am. And
Yeah.
you rock at it. I
Yeah.
would not. And I
Yeah.
know where my lane is.
Yeah.
But if I needed to, I would, but I would not do it as part of my practice. And I think that's what a lot of us probably need to learn
Yeah.
is do what you're really good at.
As attorneys, yeah,
Learn
we need to learn that.
everything about that.
Mhm.
You're going to give better service. As a community of lawyers, we're going to be seen as better people.
Yeah.
Like people want to be able to call us. They don't want, it's stressful to call us,
Yeah.
right? There's always something wrong when they call us to help them. So we should try and make it a little bit simpler for them.
Yeah.
And I see some of these documents that come through my office that were done by somebody else other than me who doesn't focus on it. And I'm having to break the news to them.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do anything with this. There's no this on there, or there's no that on there.
Yeah.
And now we have a whole other path we got to go.
Or maybe there's a whole paragraph that isn't even applicable in North Carolina.
Right.
Right?
Or who's this person named in here?
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So I like to just stay in my lane.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think clients deserve that. And I
Yeah.
think you give better, special, personalized service, which we really should be giving.
Yeah. We really should be giving across the board.
Yeah.
There's the fee consideration. There's the, I would like to have one name for my divorce and traffic ticket.
Right.
Or my estate plan.
One-stop shop.
One-stop shop. And what I like to emphasize is you can go to your general practitioner doctor, your family care doctor, and it is great for them to take your temperature, your weight, and just monitor you year to year.
Yeah.
But when it comes to it and you have to have brain surgery, a heart transplant, you're probably going to want the doctor, the surgeon,
hope you do.
right?
That's right.
That has a lot of experience only working on brains or only working on heart transplants.
Yes.
And so, a nod to those general practitioner attorneys out there. There is a time and a place.
Yeah.
But consider us the attorneys that are focused on our one craft in the legal field.
I agree.
As your heart surgeon or your brain surgeon.
I think the more we're in practice and the more we get out in front of people, that they're going to realize that that's probably the good thing. And I have lots of lawyers that I refer cases to.
Yeah. Same.
Right? I don't hold it against you for doing that. If I think I like you as a human being, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
If I don't like you as a human being, and that just to me means we're probably on different pages on how we approach things, and that's okay. I just know what my client needs. And I have lots of people I refer them to, but I know they'll be in good care.
Yeah.
So it's fine that you do other things. I want to be able to have that resource because clients call years later and go, my kid's getting a divorce.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me think who I can send them to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a no-brainer because I know how you work. I know how you and your staff are, and I know how your clients speak highly of you. I'm not going to send them to somebody that I've never met and I don't have that relationship with. So it's when you're finished, you want them to still remember you because you always want them in good hands.
And you always want to be a resource to your clients and to other attorneys.
Right.
Because, even in family law, it's interesting, and I'm sure it's the same in estate planning, is the bubble of us attorneys is actually pretty small.
Yeah.
I know we're sitting here in Charlotte right now, but it's, despite being a large city, it's pretty small. And so it's not to say that everyone's my best friend, but it is to say, hey, I know an attorney that has actually dealt with this military family law issue. So let me get you their number.
Right. What's
and
wrong
either
with
we
that?
collaborate or we refer it out, whatever it is. And it's doing what's best for the case and the client and their
Right.
family
Yep.
versus egos.
And the big thing is we're not allowed to take a referral fee.
Correct.
So when we're referring you, it's truly because we know that this person can help you, or at least the first person you should be talking to. We're not getting kickbacks on
Yeah.
any of that. So it's ethical, it's for your benefit.
Yeah.
And I want to be a resource for that.
There's no conversation more romantic than discussing a prenup with your partner, right? Okay, maybe the song for your first dance does a bit more in the romance department. Speaking of emotions, though, the prenup is a very legal document that everyone has a very emotional reaction to. Many people avoid the prenup conversation because they feel it is an indication that the marriage will fail. But here's the truth: half of all marriages already fail, regardless of whether the spouses had the prenup conversation or not. If you or someone you care about is getting married, would knowing what marriage involves legally be important? What about having the difficult conversations surrounding finances, career aspirations, and pursuing parenthood prior to the wedding date? If you are looking to build a solid foundation for your marriage, or you want the same for someone you care about, we are here to help you learn more about prenups from a position of knowledge, not emotion. To learn more about family law from a legal professional, book a consultation with a member of the Modern Legal team by visiting our website, emailing us, or calling us at 704-286-6302. Check out the information about Modern Legal services at modernlegalnc.com.
In a lot of circles with other business owners and lines of work. And so, for example, there is a referral fee for realtors, and in other areas of practice, or areas of business, I should say. And it's so important that people know that we have so many more ethics
Yeah.
that we have to abide by.
Don't you question that though sometimes?
Sometimes.
Why did they give lawyers so many ethical requirements, right?
Lordy, yeah.
Because there's been a lot of bad things that have happened.
Mhm.
And, I don't need ethics to be
Yeah.
ethical,
Yeah.
but some of us do. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's more for the community to realize how many boundaries we have and constraints that it makes them feel better when you're doing something for them.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I have to say, look, I can't refer anybody to you. I don't know anybody for that, but I'm going to call somebody that I trust.
Yeah.
That will probably give us a really great referral. So give me a day or two.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And I will get back to you with some names that you can call.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting paid for any of it.
Yep.
I'm not charging you for the time to do that. This is just part of me being in business and doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. And being a member of a community.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're public servants too. When
We are.
sometimes we're treated.
I'll stress that. Yeah.
We're treated like that.
Yeah.
But again, not most of the time, but they should expect the same kind of level of ethics no matter where they go.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. That's so true. So getting more into the nitty gritty of what we do, I like talking with estate planning attorneys, specifically you, because we get along well.
We do.
Is that there's so many tools that are available for in both of our areas of practice. But I like to stress where we're similar, like the relationship side with our clients, but also stress where we're different.
Yeah.
So tell the listener a little bit more about the specifics of estate planning.
Estate planning.
Yeah.
The first thing I always tell everybody is everybody needs an estate plan. It doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're married, divorced, you have kids, empty nesters, retiring, you're sick, you're dying. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because death does not discriminate and it can happen at any time. I could tell you stories of horrible things that have happened that nobody ever expected. And you've never did these planning things. So that's the first thing I tell everybody. And the second thing is it's not about the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the cash you have in the bank or the vehicle that's sitting on your driveway. There's so much more to estate planning. There's a healthcare power of attorney who's going to make these medical decisions when you can't do those yourself. And what if your family's in the situation my family was in 20 some odd years ago, when you have to make an end of life decision and there's nothing in writing? That hurts your family. It hurts you too. What if you're cognizant and you know that you're dying, but you can't communicate? That was my father's situation a year and a half ago. But we had planned. We had it in writing. Why take your family through months and years of anxiety and questioning, what they did?
Yeah.
And then, you got a financial power of attorney because you're the only one that owns your IRA.
Yeah.
And if you're in a coma or you're sick for a long time and there's medical bills, that's the only resource. Somebody needs to be able to access that. So it's about assets, but it's also about who's going to take care of you, and you keep control during that time that you can't really do that yourself.
Yeah.
And talking about your story. Like I like to say, you wrote your story, we're going to write the ending for you.
Yep. The last chapter.
Yep. This is what your family is going to remember you by. Are they going to remember you by all of the things that you could have put in place and you didn't? Or are they going to be thankful for everything that you did, and that's the memory you've left them behind?
And the direction, which leads to a message that you're conveying, whether you become disabled or pass away.
Yeah.
I will say, to your point on the healthcare power of attorney, so important. I was actually talking to a friend not too long ago where she was talking about getting a will, and first off, I'm not doing that. But second off, it was, just so you know, you're more likely to become disabled than die.
Right.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
And that is also part of your estate plan.
Yes.
So you want to address both of those possibilities.
But I think most people just think, well, I don't have enough money for that. And, wealth is relative. Somebody might look at your $1 million bank account and go, oh, you're just getting started.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or they'll look at your $1 million account and go, oh, that's where I would love to be.
Yep.
So it's all relative, but people will fight over the littlest thing. It could be a piece of furniture.
Okay, well, now I'll tell you
As
more
you
about
probably
family law.
Yeah.
I was just talking the other day with a friend, and I was like, yeah, I had a family law matter, and it was full matter. So we had children, child support, spousal support issues, and property and debts to distribute.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It was a nightmare until the day of the mediation. So props to, special note for mediations, because they can resolve a lot of disputes in families. But we had settled everything around 3 p.m. that day. And normally these mediations are, 6 to 8 hours. So I was like, okay, yay, 3 p.m. What's the last issue? A side table. Kid you not, a side table. It led to, I believe, about 2 to 3 more hours of negotiating. And just so we all know, my client obviously had an attorney, being me.
Right.
The other side had an attorney.
Yeah.
And then there was a mediator. All 3 of us are being paid.
Yes.
Our relative rates.
Probably more than that side table costs.
Yes. And if memory serves me correctly, I believe it was from Rooms to Go. So we're not even talking about some unique marble side table from a shop in Italy, right?
Yeah, no, that's people wanting to just be ugly.
And to your point, there is the law, there are documents, there are numbers on a bank statement.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. 9 times out of 10. So similar in family law, we are talking about children, we are talking about the dissolution of a marriage. However, we're also talking about certain actions by individuals meant to either mudsling or to just maintain some type of connection because they can't let go of the other person or other side.
There's always something that's underlying.
Exactly.
That's keeping them tied to something, even if it's an emotion or a memory that's attached to it.
Yep.
Same thing in estate planning. I've had clients painstakingly make lists of the type of china that's going to their kids. And I think our role as lawyers is sometimes to just stop it and say, here's the reality.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't want it. You can only control so much from the grave, as they say, right? You will never control somebody's reaction to anything that you do.
Yeah.
You could leave them $1 million and they could react negatively or positively. And you can't control that. So you're going to have to figure out what you're going to let go of, plan the way you feel you need to plan, and then we're going to need to move on, because if you're trying to figure these little tiny things out, trust me, your kids are not going to care about that. You think they do. I think my daughter's going to care. I want her to,
Yes.
but she's not. She hates everything in the house.
Yep.
So why would I even care what happens to the couch?
Yeah.
She can do whatever she wants with it.
And your desires are not their reality.
No, absolutely.
Simply put.
Right.
So you're not going to change them by what you put in a will or in family law. You're not going to change the opposing party into a better person simply by taking something to court.
Yes, it is funny that you say better person, because I've got clients who want to hold the money from their kids for till they're like 50 or 60 in trust. And I've had to say, okay, let's talk this through.
Yes.
Your trustee today is 60. Your kid is 30. You think that they're going to change at the age of 50? If they haven't changed at 50, they're not going to change at 60. So you have to stop trying to control everything. The reality is you're not going to figure out their money spending habits by holding this money for them.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they turn 60, they're going to spend it all.
Yeah.
Because you can't really change the habits of people as they get older in that respect. I think people can change 100%. But the reality is you're going to go through 2 or 3 trustees, because they're going to die or get sick before your kid turns the age that you want in there. And then when you spell it out for them, and I like to be direct. It's hard for me not to be honest. Obviously, it's our job, but I like to just point it out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't control this, and I don't want you to figure this out anymore.
Yeah.
You need to understand you can't control that, and let's move on. And I think that's our job.
Yeah, it is our job. It's our job to really bring light to what you can control and what you cannot. You can control how you list who gets what in your will,
right,
in terms of your property. You can control how much of your estate maybe you donate to a nonprofit that you support,
right,
in lieu of gifting it to a child. But on the flip side, there are things you cannot control.
Nope.
And in family law specifically, you cannot control a judge. We can influence a judge. We can do a whole circus and performance for a judge in a courtroom. And trust me, they'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
And they love the colored pictures in our wonderful trial binders.
They do.
They sure do. Cute kid. I know. I chose the cutest photo, right? That's why it's there. But that at the end of the day, the control is not always in your hands.
No, it's not.
And recognizing that difference, to your point, is imperative for us to assist our clients through their legal issues as it relates to estate planning and family law.
And I'm sure you have clients that don't want to listen. Thanks for telling me, but I don't care. Well, it's fine. I did my job.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You want to screw this up? Let's screw it up together, but you're going to sign something.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes I say, I don't think I'm the right fit. And I think that's one of the big things that as a community of attorneys, and I think this is rampant in every profession. I don't think it's just to us, but realizing that this is not something I want to participate in. I am not the right fit for you, but you're not the right fit for me. It goes both ways. So if you're hoping that I'm going to do something that's outside of what my procedures are, which, by the way, are put in place for a reason.
Yes.
Right? I didn't just pass the bar yesterday. I've been through this for almost more than 20 years. Then I don't think we can't work together. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I can send you to a couple other attorneys if you need somebody to talk to that I think are going to give you great service, but may be able to accommodate you. Whether it's because I don't have enough staff to handle what you want, or I have seen it go south on how you want it, and I don't want to be in that situation when you pass for whatever reason, but it goes both ways.
Yeah. I call it shoe shopping. I'm like, just because you find a pair of shoes that's in your size and width doesn't mean you're comfortable in it.
That's right.
And so you do have to find that relationship, because it is a relationship-based legal practice.
I mean, you're with your clients for years.
Yeah.
What if they didn't like you?
Yeah.
Like, I could not be with somebody for years, working with them, paying them,
and
not like them. You have to have that connection.
And I guess I'll add a plug here for all the listeners who are hearing us talk about this,
Yeah.
it's okay to fire an attorney.
That's right. It
if you're
is.
not comfortable with them.
It
It's
is.
not just the attorneys making the decision of this right fit. It's more importantly the clients.
Right.
And because I've seen it, especially in family law, where I'm in the middle of a custody dispute or trials in 3 months, et cetera. And it's like, okay, well, trials in 3 months.
Right.
Do you want to enter the courtroom with someone you trust and are comfortable with, or do you not?
Right.
Because that's within your realm of control
Mm-hmm.
versus other things that we noted earlier.
We can fire them, they can fire us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before any of that ever happens, there has to be a conversation between us and the client. Because sometimes there's just a misunderstanding. Like,
Sure.
when I'm doing probate, they think I've done nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And then we get on our conference call when they get appointed and they're like, oh my God, you did all this stuff while we're waiting. I'm like, well, that's why you hired my firm,
Mm-hmm.
because we know what we're doing. You're not supposed to know
Mm-hmm.
what to do in probate court. Like, you're not supposed to know how to calendar things. That's what our role is for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to have that conversation with them, and that has calmed them down. And then, engagement agreements are like our lifeblood. It's the one thing that we fall back on constantly. And I always refer them back to the engagement agreement. I said, you go back and read that again. It's an overview of what could possibly happen in your particular case. And the thing that you are concerned about that hasn't been done is addressed in there, so you can see what the timing of it is.
Sure.
They don't know what they're doing because they're not supposed to. So I think the communication from the attorney to the client, whether it's between a team member and a client, it doesn't always have to be us.
Yes, directly from the attorney.
Right. We can't handle it all, but that's why you have your team in place. That communication has to be open.
Yep.
That's ginormous.
Yep.
Communicate with the client. Every time you look their file up, tell them, I looked it up. It's still not approved yet.
Yeah. Yep.
But they just want to know you're alive.
Yeah, they want to know you're alive. And go one step further, some clients just need more handholding. They just do. And to that point, it's funny because I don't think we look at our law license enough, which, by the way, is a pretty piece of paper and a pretty expensive frame, right? But it does say attorney and counselor of law.
Yeah.
I think attorneys forget that. And I think a lot of the public doesn't even know that.
Mm-hmm.
So we say we're attorneys all day, every day, but we're also counselors.
Right. We're supposed to advise and help. And it doesn't always mean doing something.
Correct.
Right. So I don't always have to do the documents for you. I don't always have to do the process for you. But sometimes you just need to sit with somebody and talk about what it is that you're stressed about. And I'm counseling you through that. And sometimes it's counseling them to another lawyer.
Yeah.
Because I can't help you, or we're not the right fit. But the more you do that, I mean, I just think it just makes for a better, happier practice.
Yeah.
And happier clients. And you're going to attract the clients that you want.
Yeah. And we're going to have a community that is more empowered from a legal knowledge perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we're doing this podcast, right? It's because I really want listeners and the average person out there in the public who hopefully is not on their deathbed and who hopefully is not going through a divorce right now, just to hear what we're saying. Because if and when that time comes, they know who to reach out to.
Right. I totally agree. And it sounds like we're bashing lawyers, but we're really not. And when I think a lot of what your practice is, like from walking into your office, from sitting with you and talking and all of those things, it's the feeling they get when they come to you, that it's not stuffy, it's not lawyerly, at least in my opinion. I have tried to not be what everybody would expect it to be when they walk into a lawyer's office. And that came from, I had a tax attorney professor in law school. Okay. Tax was my worst. It still is.
I didn't even take it.
Oh, we had to. Oh my God. It was rough. It was rough. I made it through. I survived, a little scratchy and scathed, but I survived it. Well, she was so good at what she did. And I had a meeting with her in her office, in her law firm, to talk about, like, what do I do when I'm done with law school and things like that. Well, I walked into her office. It was dark. Every chair was leather with those wheels on them. And she had one of those yellow lights, like the light bulb was like a yellow tint on her desk. And I walked in there and I was like, oh, I don't want to be here. Like I felt, even as a student, very uncomfortable. And I'm sitting in the same seats that her clients are sitting in. And from that moment, I was like, if I'm ever blessed to have my own practice, it's not this.
Yeah.
It's not the feeling that I want my clients to have. And it's just purposeful.
Yeah.
Like you do everything else. So we don't have any leather chairs with wheels on them anywhere in my office.
Yes.
They are not allowed in there.
Yeah.
But it's the feeling you get because they're giving you secrets. They're giving you their real heartfelt feelings. I want them to feel like they're sitting on a couch at home having a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Because they open up more.
Yeah. With a friend.
Yeah.
Not just some
That you
stranger
pay.
in a suit. Yeah. That you pay. Don't provide
That's right.
free services for everyone. But yeah.
But we want you to feel comfortable and we want you to stay.
Exactly.
And your team needs to exude that same.
Yeah.
You know?
Agreed.
I've let-
I feel like this episode specifically is going to be really helpful for attorneys too, especially the newbies.
I know. It's either going to help them or they're going to hate us.
Or they're going to be like, I don't want to do estate planning or family law. That's fine.
That's okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, I had a great time.
Tell the listener where they could find you if they want to learn more about your practice.
Oh, awesome. So I'm on YouTube. It's North Carolina Estate Planning. It's probate attorney. I'm also on Instagram, which is Estate Lawyer NC. And North Carolina Estate Planning on Facebook, and the website's easy, SabrinaWintersLaw.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our discussion. To learn more about me and the Modern Legal team, go to our website, modernlegalnc.com, or check out the links in our show notes to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can also call us at 704-286-6302. If you have been intrigued by the conversation and would like us to continue our discussions, please subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. See you next time.